Welcome to this training module on IT performance monitoring and reporting, a critical domain within the broader scope of IT governance and management. Today, we will explore how organizations verify that their IT assets are not only functional, but are actively driving business value. From defining metrics to analyzing deviations, this session provides the roadmap for effective oversight. Let's get started. Let's begin by defining our scope. IT performance monitoring isn't just about checking if servers are running. It is the systematic tracking of efficiency and effectiveness across the IT landscape. As noted in the CISA resources, the primary goal here is to give management a comfort level that IT operations are moving in the desired direction. This falls squarely under Enterprise Governance of IT, or EGIT. Why is this critical? Because IT management must ensure that assets are not just working, but working efficiently to meet business requirements. The process involves a cycle of defining expected outputs, measuring what actually happens, and then analyzing the gap between the two. If we don't measure, we can't manage, and we certainly cannot align IT with the strategic goals of the organization. This flowchart visualizes where performance monitoring fits. It stems directly from IT governance. It has three key objectives: aligning with business, optimizing resources, and managing risks. When these three are met through effective monitoring, the ultimate result, shown at the bottom, is value delivery. This visual reinforces that monitoring is a governance tool, not just a technical task. How do we build a monitoring system? We follow a structured three-step cycle, often expanded to 5 for clarity. First, you must identify critical processes. You can't measure everything, so focus on what matters. Second, define the expected output. These targets must be approved by stakeholders. Otherwise, you are measuring against an arbitrary standard. Third, compare the actual output with your target. If you hit the target, great. If not, as the source material suggests, you must conduct a root cause analysis to understand the deviation. This analysis is the bridge between mere data collection and actual management improvement. It turns a red light on a dashboard into an actionable business decision. Here is the life cycle of a metric. We start by identifying critical processes and then defining targets. We measure actuals against those targets. This leads to the gap analysis diamond. If the target is met, we loop back to monitoring. If there is a deviation, we branch off to root cause analysis, which leads to corrective action. This closed loop ensures that monitoring leads to improvement. To measure performance, we use indicators. The most common is the KPI, or Key Performance Indicator. However, for the CISA exam and effective governance, we must distinguish between 3 types. KPIs generally look backward at historical performance. How did we do? KGIs, or Key Goal Indicators, measure if we met a specific goal. KRIs, or Key Risk Indicators, are forward-looking. They try to quantify risk facing the organization in the future. For example, a high number of failed login attempts is a KRI warning of a potential attack. A successful audit of those logs is a KPI of the security team's performance. Effective reporting uses a mix of all 3 to give management a complete picture of the past, present, and future. This diagram breaks down the metrics types. We have KPI, KGI, and KRI. Notice the flow. KPI tracks history, KGI tracks goals, and KRI warns of future risk. Crucially, all 3 feed into the governance dashboard at the bottom. This visualizes why a manager cannot rely on just one type of metric. They need the full dashboard to steer the ship. One of the most effective tools for IT governance is the IT Balance Scorecard, or BSC. It moves us beyond simple financial metrics. The BSC evaluates IT from 4 distinct perspectives: financial, customer, internal processes, and innovation/learning. This holistic view helps align IT with business needs. For example, while the financial perspective might track the IT budget, the customer perspective tracks user satisfaction with the help desk. The internal perspective might track system uptime. A crucial note for the exam: you cannot implement a BSC without first defining your KPIs. KPIs are the data fuel that makes the scorecard engine run. Without them, the scorecard is empty. Imagine the balanced scorecard at the center of your strategy. It radiates out to 4 quadrants. Top left is financial, focusing on ROI. Top right is customer, focusing on satisfaction. Bottom left is internal process, focusing on efficiency. Bottom right is innovation and learning, focusing on future growth. This diagram shows how the BSC covers the entire health of the IT organization, not just the money. Beyond the scorecard, we have specific methodologies to drive performance. Six Sigma is a rigorous, quantitative approach aimed at reducing defects to near zero. It's about consistency. Lean Six Sigma takes that further by cutting out waste-removing steps that don't add value. For financial performance, we use lifecycle cost-benefit analysis. This doesn't just look at the purchase price of a server, but the cost to maintain, power, and upgrade it over its life. Finally, we return to root cause analysis. If a metric is red, we don't just fix the symptom. We use analysis to find the underlying procedural or technical failure so it doesn't happen again. Here we categorize our methodologies. Six Sigma, in pink, focuses on reducing defects. Lean Six Sigma, in blue, focuses on removing waste. Cost-benefit analysis focuses on strategic value. This visual helps you distinguish the primary goal of each methodology when selecting the right tool for the job. How do we formalize expectations? Through service level agreements, or SLAs. An SLA is a formal document outlining specific, measurable commitments. It is the contract that says IT will provide X level of uptime. Service level management, or SLM, is the broader process of negotiating these agreements and then monitoring them. The SLA must be written in non-technical terms so business stakeholders understand it. It serves as the baseline for performance monitoring. If the SLA says 99.9% uptime and monitoring shows 98%, you have a clear, undeniable performance gap to report. This clarity eliminates ambiguity between IT and the business. This sequence shows the SLA lifecycle. First, the customer and IT provider negotiate and agree on SLA. Then, we enter the service delivery loop. The provider delivers service while the monitoring tool tracks metrics in the background. Finally, the provider reports performance versus the SLA back to the customer. This loop ensures accountability. Performance monitoring isn't just about software, it's about infrastructure capacity. Capacity management ensures we have the resources to meet demand now and in the future. We use tools like network analyzers and system utilization reports to track bandwidth, CPU, and storage. The goal is predictive. We want to catch a bottleneck before it stops a business transaction. For example, if storage is 80% full and growing at 5% a week, capacity management tells us exactly when we need to buy new drives. This prevents firefighting and allows for strategic budgeting. In this capacity flow, we feed 2 inputs into capacity management: current usage data and future business plans. The analysis node determines our status. If we are under capacity, we have wasted spend. If we are over capacity, we face performance risk. The goal is the middle path, optimal capacity leading to stable operations. We conclude with quality assurance. QA is process-oriented. It aims to prevent defects by improving how we work. QC is product-oriented. It tests the final result to find defects. Both are vital for performance reporting. We tie this all together with the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, PDCA, which ensures that when our reporting identifies an issue, we plan a fix, do it, check if it worked, and act to standardize it. As an IS auditor, your job is to verify that this cycle exists. Are reports just gathering dust, or is management using them to drive decisions? Effective monitoring is the difference between an IT department that costs money and one that creates value. Our final diagram is the classic PDCA cycle. We plan objectives, do the work, and then, most importantly for this topic, we check by monitoring and measuring. This check phase drives the act phase, where we improve. The cycle then repeats. This continuous loop is the essence of mature IT governance.